Angels, it's Francisco Angel, and you're listening to the very first episode of Frights with Franny, where we talk about the spooky, the yuki, and the kooky. And today I'm talking all about Scream with the help of a very special guest, Kylie Johnson, but you might know her as the Haunted Hippie. Kylie, how are you?
I'm doing great today. How you doing?
I'm doing good. So tell the viewers who might not know you or are familiar with you, what do you do?
Oh, I do a whole bunch of stuff on my channel. The series that I've been working on the most this past year is probably my original versus remake series that I do, where I cover classic movies like Halloween, Friday the 13th, and then I compare them to their contemporary remakes. So I do that like video essay style, but um, I'm kind of a goober. Like I mess around, I throw in a lot of jokes and stuff, and just kind of try to be like your kooky horror professor in a way. I also just recently released my very first video in my horror directors series. So I did like a career deep dive of John Carpenter, and then I ranked all 24 of the movies he ever directed. So I do a lot of stuff like that. I do some individual reviews, like I'll have a Nope review, review all the big pop cultural stuff, and I do a lot of live streaming as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So make sure you guys check her out. I'm going to link her stuff down below. Great content creator. One of my favorites. So now we're going to ask some questions to get to know you a little bit more. So when did you when did you start getting into horror? Like when did you start loving horror?
Oh my God. I didn't really realize how much I've loved it my entire life, really. I've talked a lot about my grandpa on my channel before because he kind of raised me on Hitchcock as well as like 50s sci-fi horror. So definitely like horror for beginners. And he got me started on that when I was like 5, probably, is when I watched like actually, I think one of the very first like true horror movies I ever watched was like Jaws at the age of 6 or 7. And I always was super into like the Goosebumps books and scary stories to tell in the dark. I just always loved spooky stuff like Corpse Bride that came out in 2005, and I've been obsessed with that movie my entire life. So it's just kind of always been around. But I got really, really obsessed back in like high school when I watched the Scream franchise actually for the very first time. Yeah.
Okay, so recently you directed your short film Somnum. How was that experience?
Oh my God, it was amazing. I think it's because I went to school with these people. I hadn't actually worked with them too much in the past, but I'd done some creature acting for one of their short films prior to that. So I think we just kind of had a good thing going. And also in my opinion, it was something really original, and we had a really good vision for it. And so it was just it was easy. Like we just came together really well. I feel like the three of us were kind of the main team. We had, my friend Kayleen, who pretty much did all the producing, like all the scheduling, all of the coordination, everything like that. And then Jared was our cinematographer, our DP. And so he really helped like bring the vision to life. He knows everything about the camera and the lighting. And then I was just like creatively directing everything and like, just communicating what I wanted, and they really got it done. So yeah, it was an amazing experience. Honestly, it was probably my best experience ever on a set for sure.
Do you have any directors or filmmakers who have inspired you on your filmmaking journey?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, to an extent, like all of them,
Mm-hmm.
but I would say style wise, probably James Wan, but that's just with Somnum. I think eventually I'd want to get more to the level of like Jordan Peele, because I love thematically rich horror story making, or like Ari Aster especially too. But for right now, we're focusing more on like the technical stuff, so more focusing on atmosphere, mood, lighting, that kind of a thing. So definitely probably drawing the most inspiration from James Wan currently.
Cool. For me, um, it's kind of like taking the best qualities of different directors because every director has their own strength. But for me, the standout, not particularly because of his work, even though he does great work, is David S. Sandberg. I don't know if you know him, but he directed the second Annabelle movie, which is the best one, and
Oh, and
Shazam,
Lights Out.
Lights
Sorry.
Out. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, yeah, Lights Out.
Mhm.
Because he started on YouTube. He was
Right.
making horror shorts on YouTube, and that's how they found, Lights Out and stuff like
Mhm.
that. So I was like, there's hope for us. So I was like, oh.
Oh yeah,
Um,
absolutely. I love that original short. Oh my gosh, it's fantastic. He has a couple really good ones on YouTube.
so I was like, oh, there's hope for us.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, definitely.
What would you like to see more in the horror genre?
Oh God, is it? I don't know. I feel like it's cliche to just say that I want to see more originality, you know? I feel like there's not too many directors that are doing it quite like Jordan Peele and Ari Aster, which I feel basic to say that, but they probably are my favorite horror directors. Just because they it's they just always do something unexpected. I don't know. And I think that's fun. I think that's more important than crowd pleasing. I think just
Hmm.
doing something unique that we haven't seen before, you know?
Yeah, no, no, I definitely feel that.
Yeah.
For me, I'd like to see, we were seeing it a lot more, but as you were saying, like thematically rich
Hmm.
movies, I want to see more like that. Because I like movies that make me think. Like if it can scare me and then make me think, like
Hmm.
go into a deeper void of thoughts, like that's, you know, I want to see more of that.
Me too. Yeah. I know my answer was so vague, but yeah, I agree with that.
If given the chance to make a reboot of any existing movie or IP, which one would you choose and why?
Okay, I've said this so many times. I think that Halloween 3, the season of the witch, really needs a remake because I know that that movie definitely has its fans, but a lot of people hated it just because it doesn't have Michael Myers in it. For me, I just don't feel like it's a really well executed movie. There's a really weird relationship in it. It's just there's something kind of off about it. I think it would be fun to remake that in a way more contemporary way, you
Mhm.
know? Maybe with some like way more current filming techniques, obviously. But yeah, I love the story. I love the story so much of Halloween 3. I just don't like the movie. So I think it'd be cool to give that one a go, give it a remake. Yeah, what about you?
For me, it's like kind of like where you're saying where the concept is good, but like the execution is, you know, it didn't stick the landing.
Mhm.
I would never touch anything that's kind of like film royalty, where it's like, you know, like don't remake it. Like if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So I'm like,
Mhm.
you know, stay away from that. But I grew up, you know, growing up in the early 2000s. You know, I remember going to like family video or Blockbuster and going to the
Mhm.
horror section and like looking, picking out movies based on the covers. So I have a lot of nostalgia for like the early slasher movies of the 2000s, but you know when you look at them now, there's some that just, you know, they,
Could
as a
use some
kid,
work.
yeah, as a kid it's like, oh yeah, this is so cool, and as a grown up you're like, oh okay, well, there's some issues here. So
Yeah.
I'd probably want to touch like one of those. Like I think House of Wax, the remake of the
Mhm.
remake,
Yeah.
the newer one, um I like some of the things that they had, and then there were some things like the whole twin kind of romance thing that was like, okay, what are you
Yeah.
guys thinking? We don't want that. But there's some things that I really liked in that, and I'm like, oh, you know, if you know, you touch it up.
Mhm.
Or I don't know if you've seen Stay Alive. um
No, that one's on my list though.
uh I remember liking that one a lot growing up, and it's like it's a video game based one, and I think you can do a lot nowadays with how gaming culture has grown. So it's like something you that could be like heavily improved on.
Mhm.
But yeah, I would probably do one of those.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so now we're gonna move on. Oh, the Scream rankings.
Okay.
So I was on your live for the Scream 5 spoilers. Obviously, if you're listening at this point, spoilers. And also, like, this is just our humble opinions. If you disagree, tell us why down below. Um, I was on your Scream 5 live when you're like, you know, your spoiler one. And I started kind of the ranking things, and you had you had seen it, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna do mine next week, so make sure you pay attention.
Oh
And
yeah.
then you read mine, and you're like, oh, that's mine. Like,
Oh, we have the same. Oh, right.
yeah,
Okay.
because you're like, oh, spoiler alert for next week. That was this is
Yeah.
mine. Um, Mine, however, has changed since then.
Okay.
Because I've
All
seen them
right.
all, I think, twice since then. All the movies
Okay.
twice since then. So let's start at number 5 and then work our way up. Which
Okay.
I think I'm gonna speak for the both of us. If not, correct me. Feel
Mhm.
free to correct me. But we're going from worst to best, and I say worst slightly because Scream. Like I enjoy all the Scream movies, and I think Scream is like one of the only franchises that is consistent in the entertainment level.
Mhm.
Like there's not a movie that I flat out hate.
Yeah,
So
same.
yeah, I'll let you go first with your number five.
Okay, my number five, yeah, same disclaimer because I love all the movies. So yeah, but my number five would still have to be Scream 3. Uh, yeah. So are we sharing explanations
Yeah,
now as
yeah.
well? Okay. Yeah. Yeah, for me, Scream 3, I just think has one of the most kind of disconnected killer reveals. I wish that, what's his name? Roman, right? I
Mhm.
wish that he had at least one scene with Sydney, maybe where they met before it was revealed he was the killer. It just felt a little bit disconnected. I do think that there's a lot that's super epic about Scream 3, a lot of good kills. For me, Jennifer Jolie as Parker Posey, I love that woman so much. I think she kind of saves that movie for me.
Jeez. What the hell are you doing? Being Gail Weathers. What the hell are you doing?
I am Gail Weathers.
Here's how I see it. I've got no house, no bodyguard, no movie, and I'm being stalked. Because someone wants to kill me? No, because someone wants to kill you. So now, starting now, I go where you go. That way, if someone wants to kill me, I'll be with you. And since they really want to kill you, they won't kill me. They'll kill you. Make sense?
None.
And I don't know. It's hard to explain why it's last on the list because truly there's not that much that I don't like about it. I'll say maybe like the main reason is like, that it probably has the weakest opening in my opinion of the whole franchise. So yeah, that kind of just sets the tone for me. What about you?
Um, for me, my five is Scream 3 as well. Um, the only reason it's down here is just from like a technical aspect, like just the writing and stuff like that. And I know that this came out shortly after Columbine happened, and that's why they didn't have a lot of gore here because they're like, oh, it's really sensitive times, like let's respect that.
Mhm.
But yeah, this movie did lack gore. And there are just things that I like. It's so fun. It's such a fun movie. It's really funny. Um, Parker Posey. Oh, I wish she wouldn't have died. Like
I
she's so
know.
great. She is so
Ugh.
great. When she popped up in the Scream 5 cast list for Stab, I was like, "Ugh, I remember you. Please come back."
Yeah.
Um, but I didn't like the flashbacks or like the Cindy's hallucinations of her mom. I think those were like weird and kind of misplaced. I think Roman had so much potential to be a great killer.
Mhm.
But again, like it's like him and Mickey, like they did, they're there for like a little bit in the beginning, and then boom, they disappear, and then suddenly, like, oh, we're back.
Mhm.
It was us the whole time, and there was a level because if it would have been set up better, I feel to me it gave me kind of like a soap opera vibe, like I'm your brother, and like, you know. So
Yeah.
if it would have been set up better, like probably wouldn't have felt that way. But like because there was no setup, it was just so random. It did feel like a telenovela, and you're like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it was just super random. Another really random thing about that too is it's I believe the only movie of the Scream franchise where Ghostface uses a voice changer to sound like the
yeah.
characters, which
It's
kind of
like
came out of nowhere.
we don't have that technology now. I don't know, like
Yeah.
that's like you know,
Interesting.
I will suspend my disbelief for some things, but then there are other things where it's like, okay,
Like, come
like
on.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I remember 2 years ago, my roommate, she hadn't seen any of the Scream movies, so we had like kind of like a Scream marathon, and each night we'd watch a different one. And when we were watching this one, when it came to the killer reveal, she's like, "Who's that?"
Yeah, right?
She was like, "Who's that?"
Right.
And it's like, oh, it's like that one director that appeared for like 5 seconds in like two scenes. Like, oh,
Yeah.
what?
No, yeah, the first time that I watched Scream 3 too, I did not know what was going on, like at all. Which is also part of the reason why I'm like, why didn't they establish a connection with him and Sydney first? Like it would have been cool too if maybe in the beginning of the movie he was trying to track down Sydney and was bothering her because he wanted her insight on his, stab script or whatever.
Mhm.
That like would have made so much sense too, but whatever.
Okay. Now we're moving on to our fourth choice. You go first. You have the floor.
Okay, this one's tough. I don't know. I'm second guessing this a little bit, but I need to like rewatch the franchise to be totally sure. I have my number 4 as Scream 2, which I feel like is gonna be a little controversial for some Scream fans. I think it's a great sequel. Like I said, I love all these movies, but I do feel like there is just a little bit of fat that needs to be trimmed. There's also, as you mentioned, like not a super strong connection with Mickey being killer. But there's so much that I love about the movie too. So it's a little bit tricky to, articulate why it's placed at number 4. I just like the other 3 movies more. So
For me, originally, like when I first said my list to you on your live, it was Scream 2 as well. But now it's moved one place with Scream 5.
okay.
Scream 5 came one notch down.
Mm-hmm.
For me, unfortunately Scream 5 has become a movie where, first of all, first sin, it should have been 5 Cream. Like, I know what they were doing, but
I know.
5 Cream, I'm a 5 Cream stan.
Me too. I've said that too.
Second, the more I watch it, the more issues I have with it. And I think, like, even more than Scream 3. Scream 3, I've accepted it for what it is, and it's really
Yeah.
fun and stuff like that. But Scream 5, I have an issue with the killers, their motives. I predicted both killers. Um, I I'm Amber. I knew she was a killer when she was in the hospital, because she had
Wow.
like that phone call, or like when she was talking about Sam and how like she had left, and she's like, oh, she's not cool and stuff like that. When she's in the Ghostface costume, which, by the way, height difference, hello,
Yeah.
Dewey, like, how did she, like, okay, never mind.
Yeah.
But anyways, when she was like calling Sam in the hospital, and she's like, maybe that's because you're a selfish little bitch and stuff like that, I was like, this is Amber. This is giving that Amber energy from that other scene. This is Amber.
Wow.
And Richie, like, I was suspecting Richie, but like I was hoping it wasn't Richie, because I'm like, oh, Richie's a fun character. I'm like, plus we've done the whole boyfriend thing before, been there, done that. Please don't let it be. And then I was like, oh, okay. I did think that Amber's reveal was badass though. When she pulled out the gun, I was like, oh, okay. I knew it was you, but like, she ate that.
Stop. Liv, and just stop! Fuck you, Amber. I'm not the fucking killer!
I know. Welcome to Act 3.
And then there's just like, there are some like things that happen that like just reflect Scream 3 that I didn't like. Again, kind of like the hallucinations with like Sam and Billy, and like Cindy and her mom, the secret relative with Sam being Billy's, half, or your daughter, and then, Roman. And then in Scream 3, because like horror trilogies weren't really like a thing, there was like a franchise, but they weren't a thing. They would mention like Godfathers and Star Wars, and this one, Ricos are becoming more and more a thing, but like, again, they had to like pull from Star Wars and like, other movies to make their point. I did like the characters that survive. I did like, but I feel like we didn't have enough time with them for me to like fully connect. And also, like, this is just a small nitpick. It's just like the inconsistency with the stab movies. Because like in Scream 4, they established that, after the third stab, Sidney threatened to sue them. So then they started making up stuff. And then they're like, oh, like, one of the questions was like, who's in all the stab movies? Like, Sidney and stuff like that. And then like the more, like, it's one of the things, like, the more I see, the more like those little details where it's like, how did Sidney get Sam's phone number when she's like calling her, telling her that she's in Stu's house?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of little things. It's funny that you actually put that at your number 4, because I was thinking about it. I feel like
Mhm.
the last time that I ranked this franchise, because I haven't watched the movie since I did my last re-ranking, but um I think it was recency bias. I'm pretty
Mhm.
sure that's what it is. So that's why I need to go back. I need to go back through and watch them again because I was really close actually to putting Scream 5 at number 4. But I don't know. I was just thinking about it and I because I okay, well, should I say my number 3? Because
Yeah.
that's I was gonna start talking about Scream 5. That's my number 3
Oh wait,
right
wait. Before, sorry,
now.
can I
Yeah.
cut you off for a second? The very last thing I just wanted to say, kind of like the cinematography felt very generic, if that makes
In
sense.
Scream 5.
Yeah, and like because in the other screams, like they have like beautiful like establishing shots and stuff like that, and like there like all of them were like close-ups in this one, and that was weird to me. Like it was very the camera was very close, and
Okay.
it like kind of had like I don't know like a generic slasher look that wasn't like it didn't feel like it have that touch of Scream, if that makes sense.
Okay.
But yeah, I just want to say that.
Okay, so so we're moving on to
Yes.
our number 3 now.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, for Scream 5, I think I just loved it so much because I actually ended up loving all the characters. I think just I mean, despite not spending a ton of time with a lot of them, I just felt like they were really relatable.
Mhm.
I just because I especially loved that they brought in Mindy. I think that might be what it is because Scream 2 just does not have the Meeks twins. It does not have Sam and Tara. And, for a lot of the movie, Richie, I also found to be just like really comical. I really like his performance in Scream 5. So I think it's really the actors that made it for me, even though, I love my girl, Sarah Michelle Gellar, and she's in Scream 2 and she has a great scene, but there's just not really enough of her, obviously, in that movie. Like, she has only 2 scenes or something, I think. Um, so yeah, I think that's why I was preferring Scream 5. And then another thing too is I think I just really like being in Woodsboro. Like you notice
Mhm.
the 2 movies I have on the bottom are the ones that are in LA or like when Sydney's off to college. So I think the Woodsboro vibes were coming through with Scream 5 for me. And so that's why it still ended up above Scream 2. But again, recency bias is a thing. So I definitely need to go through and watch all the movies again because I've only seen Scream 5 twice now, whereas all the other Scream movies I've seen at least 3 times each, at least.
Mhm.
So, yeah, we'll see what happens next time. But what about
Yeah.
your number
No.
3?
Yeah. No. Because when I first watched it, it was very like it was like oh like that was entertaining. That was cool. That was cool. And then kept watching it and watching it. I was like, okay, this is getting less cool now.
Right.
Um, number 3, Scream 2.
Mhm.
So Scream 2, kind of what you were saying, like the opening scene. I love the opening scene just because like now being kind of that big crowd. Like I don't know why like everyone was so excited for the first Stab movie, but just kind of being in that audience where like people are like yeah and stuff like that with the especially with the Marvel movies and stuff like that. It's like oh
Yeah.
um so that opening scene was great. Sarah Michelle Gellar was great. There's just like not a reason. I feel like it just lacks. I don't know if it's just entertainment value for me. Like it's just one that I'm not particularly excited to go back to. Like it's like if I say like, oh, like I'm gonna go watch a Scream movie, it's definitely not in the first pick of
Mhm.
ones to watch. So I can't pinpoint exactly why, but I mean, other than that, like everything's like, fine with the movie. Like it's fine, but I don't know, maybe just because it doesn't stick out,
Yeah, yeah.
if that makes sense.
That's fair.
Um, but yes, now we're moving on to our number 2.
Okay, our number 2. Okay, so my number 2 is Scream 4. This one I feel like has the second best killer reveal of the whole franchise, if not one of the best. I think, I mean, the commentary also is just so ahead of its time. It's really relevant now, which I think gives it good rewatchability. But for 2011, it was speaking on things that I felt like weren't going to happen for another 5 years or something. When pranking content got really big on YouTube and people were getting in trouble, and then like the Jake Paul of it all, and that kind of a thing. I feel like it was just such an early commentary on that, as well as I love all the characters as well in Scream 4. I think that's one of the main things that I gravitate towards in a Scream film, especially because, you know, after the first time you've seen it and you know who the killers are, it's like, why do you come back? And for me,
Mhm.
it's definitely the characters, because I love slashers. They're a really good time, but I'm typically not that person that's gonna rewatch a movie just because it's a slasher and it's gory and that kind of
Mhm.
a thing. So yeah, for me, it's definitely the characters of Scream 4, and obviously we got Kirby, and yeah, I think there's just a lot to love that feels a little bit overlooked in my opinion by a lot of Scream fans. Because I don't know if it's a super popular opinion to have Scream 4 up this high. I feel like it's not, but here we are.
So, spoiler alert, mine is also Scream 4. You know, I feel the same way. Like, I feel like I've either seen people have Scream 4 like at the very last or have it as their like second favorite. And like there's like it's weird to see it's rare to see kind of like in the middle, like people feeling like about it. Like it's like polarizing for some reason.
Yeah.
Um but yeah, no, it is extremely relevant. It's crazy how Kevin Williamson like kind of guessed what was gonna happen all like a decade later.
Yeah.
Cause like uh and guys, I'm gonna go more detail on this on the video essay, like because there's just so much to unpack. Jill, first of all, it is so smart to have the reboot Cindy be the killer. Like I remember this is the first Scream movie I saw in movie theaters, so you know it's also
Oh yeah.
there's a nostalgic feeling for me. But when that happened, I was blown away. I was like, Jill.
Right. Me too.
Yeah, no, like it is one of the killer reveals that actually like genuinely shocked me. I was like, no, because they set her up so well to be, you know, kind of like, you know, the predecessor to Cindy.
Hmm.
And um again, her motive of, you know, her saying like, what am I gonna do? Go to college, work? And it's like, you know, you don't need to work to be famous anymore. You know,
Hmm.
you just have to have fucked up shit happen to you. And that's so the idea of like just, you know, becoming famous through what other people's, you know, will assume like it's not hard work. Some of it is hard work, but like, you know, some TikTokers you could argue that are getting like no hate on Addison Rae, but like, you know, she did that
Right.
one movie on Netflix, and like they just gave her a three movie contract on Netflix after that. And I'm just like, you know, like
Like, okay.
like good for her, but it's really frustrating for you know, like she never expressed a love for movies. You know, it was just kind of a dancing, and it's frustrating for people who are like us, who want to tell stories, and like it's like, you know, a huge passion, it's our dream, and we're working really hard, and then like someone comes and like, oh, like they have followers, so here you go, here's all, you know, the resources and that for you.
Hmm.
um and it's like going back, like, you know, I've heard some people be like, oh, her motive is unrealistic to kill to become famous and stuff like that. And I'm like, if you actually like see stuff that happens on the internet to become like the things some people do to become famous or to get views, like it's not that far-fetched, it really isn't.
No.
Like, you know, going back to Logan Paul and like when he filmed that victim in that forest last year, there was this I didn't know about her, I only knew about her after the fact, but there was this mother who like vlogged, and she forgot to edit out the ending scene where like her son's like genuinely like crying and he's like looking for comfort, and she's like, cry, no, like cry to camera, like pose for the camera, like instead of like comforting her son,
Oh
she's like,
yeah.
you know, like we need a thumbnail, like can you pose please,
Yeah.
like, can you please make the face and stuff. She forgot to edit that thing out, like
I
that
think
part
I
out.
saw that.
And it's
Yeah.
like, you know, people, it's disgusting, because then you're like, who would like do such a like exploit their like child for views and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
It's like, yeah, it's really relevant, because nowadays it is, you know, accessible, fame is accessible through like, you know, really easily. It's just really easy,
Hmm.
and it's just so relevant. The
Hmm.
whole like live streaming too, like how that's become extremely relevant now with Twitch and all that. um
Yeah, that's just, I mean, it's crazy to me. I'm like, I feel like they predicted the future almost.
Yeah, and then Kirby.
Kirby.
I need a Kirby and Mindy like interaction ASAP. Like that
I
would
think we're
be
gonna get it too. I think we're gonna get it.
yeah.
Ooh,
I'm so glad. I'm so
yeah.
glad she's back. Um, and yeah, and I also like the slight commentary because reboots usually have like a very negative connotation to them. Because people are
Mhm.
like, what's the point? And sometimes that's like justified, and then other times they're like, oh, they took something that wasn't great and then they made it better. So the fact that it's like the movie is setting up the next cast because it's like, oh, there could be the reboot, there could be the new deal and stuff like that, only for them to pull it under our feet.
Mhm.
Um, and even in Jill's, like some of Jill's dialogue, you see that where it's like it's not about killing you, it's about becoming you. Like kind of like that double entendre with her being kind of like the reboot version of her.
Mhm.
Um, and then the best, in my opinion, the best Sidney Prescott line is,
You forgot the first rule of remakes, Jill. Don't fuck with the original.
it's like, oh, I also love that parallel with like how people view reboots. That like that was just brilliant commentary, like without even having to like say it out loud, like saying like this is the commentary. I'm like, oh, chef's kiss.
Yeah.
But yes, I have no idea what the next one's gonna be. The
I
first, what's your
wonder.
first? Yeah. What's your first?
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be the original. There's nothing I can really offer, honestly, that I haven't said before, that everybody that loves this franchise hasn't said before. But for me personally, I think it's probably the opening scene and the killer reveal. It's just those combined are probably, probably alone make it the strongest of the franchise. And then, I'm also such a sucker for the cast of this movie too. Like, oh, Tatum and Stu Macher and Billy, like they're just icons. They're just, I don't know what else I can really say, to be honest. I'm assuming you might have the same one as me.
Yeah, yeah. So my first one is Scream. I was watching it last night while I was like reviewing my notes and my rankings. I
Mhm.
like started watching it. The opening scene, so good. But even I feel like this has the best like direction out of all of them.
Mhm.
This has more details. Like even in the opening scene, when after she gets called for like the first time, and it like has that wide shot of her house, like they have the swing in the foreground, and you can hear like the rope, like the tightening of the rope and stuff like that, which foreshadows like her being hung there at the end. Like,
True.
oh, so good. Or like even that one take when we go to Woodsboro High for the first time, and it's like on the side, and then it pans down, and then it goes down, and then it goes to Sydney, and then it follows Sydney, and then we pan to Gail. That one shot, I was like, oh,
Oh
great!
yeah,
Like
it's great.
it's such a great movie. It's such a great movie. I showed it to a friend. I have to edit it, but we did a video reaction. He had never seen Scream, and he's not like a big horror fan, but he really liked it too.
Mhm.
And I'm like, this is a gateway horror, gateway
Oh
drag to
yeah.
horror.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's not much to be said. It's iconic all around.
It is what it is. You get it, you get it. You don't, you don't.
If you know, you know.
If you know, you know.
Okay, we're moving on to our top Scream characters.
Hmm.
Okay, I'm gonna have you start at your number 5.
Okay, so top Scream characters. I'm just gonna get ahead of this right now. Sydney did not make my top 5, so I'm just gonna let that be known right now.
Don't come for
Uh,
her.
yeah. So
You're hurt.
I think she makes at least my top 10 Final Girls. I'm pretty sure she's in my top 10 of Final Girls, but she's not in my top 5 of Scream characters. So, all right. So just kicking it off, number 5 has got to be Jennifer Jolie, played by Parker Posey.
$50? Who are you, a reporter for Woodsboro High? It's worth $2,000. Are you gonna help Gail Weathers or not?
This woman just, I mean, she kind of, in a way, I think kind of saved Scream 3 for me. That woman is just hilarious. She's so funny. I think the way that also she interacts with Gail too, I think is just phenomenal. The way that she's essentially, she plays the character that Gail used to be kind of in Scream 1, but she's like the whiny Hollywood version, which I think was just so clever. I think she's just a really, really well written character. Um, so yeah, and then the performance too. I don't know if it's just like a bias coming in because the actress and because she's played so well, because it might not necessarily be the character itself, but she got to be in my top 5 of my favorite people just to watch on screen in the Scream franchise. Like, she's just one of my favorite people to see when I watch this franchise. Yeah.
Yeah, it's what was her line? It's like, where are you trying to get an interview? To Woodsboro High? And like she like puts in like a ring. She's like, are you gonna give us the information or not? She's like, oh my god, I love her.
Yeah.
For me, number 5 is Randy Meeks.
Pops, man. Because he's probably dead. His body will come popping up in the last reel somewhere. Eyes gouged out, fingers cut off, teeth knocked out. See, the police are always off track with this shit. If they'd watch Prom Night, they'd save time. There's a formula to it. A very simple formula. Everybody's a suspect.
Okay.
So yeah, Randy, you know, especially like after seeing like again the first one again, he's just like, I was sad. It wasn't expected when he died in Scream 2, but I was like, you know, I was so sad about it. And I do wonder what the Scream franchise would be if he wouldn't have died. You know, like if it would have like had like a different turn. Like how would he have been incorporated in Scream 4? It's really interesting to think about that. I mean, he was in 3 for a little bit, a little cameo. But I don't know. Maybe in another, like in an alternate universe, you know, Randy is like Mindy and Chad's dad. I don't know. Could be.
Yeah.
But, yeah, he's just like, and I think a lot of these characters like are heightened just by their actors too.
Oh yeah.
Like they really like Jamie Kennedy really like goes all out for Randy in the first one. The video store scene is so funny to me.
I love that scene.
And the fact that he points out the killers like several times throughout the film.
Yeah, with Billy, dude, I think like the second time that I watched the Scream movie, so it was like my first time watching it knowing who the killers were. I was like, it was so obvious, and Randy was literally pointing it out like the whole time. How did I not guess that? Like, I feel so dumb.
Yeah, he's like our self-aware king. Like he was so like even when Billy's first introduced, they're like, don't fear the Reaper, like the soft cover of it. It's like,
Come on.
especially the fountain scene last night. I was like just looking at the fountain scene, and Stu's like talking about how to like gut someone, and then Billy's like you can tell like Billy's panicking.
Yeah. It's like, shut up.
Okay, number 4.
Number 4, for me, my number 4 is Jill Roberts.
Hello, Sydney. Surprised? Watch this. This is the part, my dear cousin, when the cameras turn off.
I know she's not a good character, but again, it might just be Emma Roberts. Like the way that she flips her switch and her acting abilities, I think just brought so much to the character too. I love complex villains. I think that also might be why I've, you know, like slashers have never been one of my favorite subgenres, because I love when there's more complexity, and Jill definitely has that going on. I think I guess contrary to what a lot of people say, I think her motives make so much sense. Yeah, she's just I don't know what else there is to be said about her, honestly. A lot of it does come down to the performance and just like the sheer insanity of the character too. I think is just great.
Mm-hmm. My number 4 is Kirby Reeds.
I want to talk to Jill.
Okay, well, she doesn't want to talk to you. Come on, Mr. Ghostface, whisper to me. Aren't you supposed to ask me a question?
All right. How's the movie?
What movie?
Shaun of the Dead.
How did you know that?
Hell yeah.
So Kirby, what's not to say about Kirby? She's like the whole package. She is Randy and Tatum put together, and it is great.
Yes.
Like, she is fantastic. Like, I like her right before Olivia's death scene, one of the best death scenes in the Scream franchise in my point of view. But like when she's having that call with Ghostface and she's like, tell me a question, Mr. Ghostface, and she's like playing with him, like it's just she's so fun. I really like her, and I'm so excited to see her come back in Scream 6.
Me too. Oh.
All right, número 3.
Okay, so yeah, my number 3 is Kirby as well. So yeah, not too much more to say. I think she's just such an obvious favorite too from Scream 4. You know, a fan favorite for a reason. Just she's so knowledgeable, but then like she's just also so witty and she's so hot, and I don't know, you know, like she just has that that self-assuredness that like makes her so hot, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
She loves horror. She knows what she's talking about. She can hold her own when she's having a conversation with literally anybody, you know, even some annoying guy that's trying to hit on her. Like, just nothing seems to faze her. Like, she's just an icon. She's somebody that, you know, I think is worth looking up to for sure.
Period. My third one, it's funny, we had to switch. My third one is Jill Roberts.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, you basically nailed it. Jill, I will say, I'm convinced Jill is the most evil out of all the Ghostface. She's so manipulative. Like the way she just manipulated Charlie, as she should. Charlie was weird. He was an incel. Okay, like
as she should.
As she should. But the way she just manipulated him and like, you know, ends up like killing him. She's like, sorry.
Yeah.
The fact that she was so close to getting away with it, like, you know, amazing.
Smart girl.
Like that whole scene where she's mutilating herself, she is dedicated. I was like, damn, she's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, respect. But yeah, Jill, that there's not much to say. She's iconic.
Oh yeah, undeniably.
Number 2.
So number 2. At number 2, I have Mindy Meeks.
No, Jamie, watch out. Watch out, Jamie. You know he's around. You know.
What?
There he is.
Come on, man, turn around. Turn around, dude.
Jamie, I told you. He's around the corner. Jamie, look behind you.
Oh, Randy, look behind you. Come on, man, turn around.
Behind you.
Dude, what are you doing?
Turn around.
You can do it.
Behind you.
These are your rules, man.
Turn
Own
around.
that shit.
Behind you. Turn around.
Look
Jamie.
behind.
Jamie.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, I think it only right, you know, that you know, the horror fans within the movie make our top 5 list for sure. It's just I couldn't completely pinpoint why I put her above Kirby, but in a way, it's like she has all the best attributes of Kirby, plus she's gay. So I don't know if that's the only reason really, but like she's just smart, she's funny, she's a little sassy, like yeah, she's just got all the best of the attributes of like Randy plus Kirby put together. And she's hot. I don't know. But yeah, I think that one's kind of an obvious one.
Yeah,
you know,
Jasmine Savoy Brown really eats up the scenery when she does that whole spiel on requels. Like she ate that, you know.
Yes.
She's like real Randy energy right there.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
She might end up. She's not on my other 2 slots, but she might end up being there. I just need more time with the character. So if you know, Screen 6, she might end up, you know, pushing her way through the top.
Yeah, fair.
Hopefully she survives.
Oh God, I hope so. God.
So my second is, and I feel like yours is gonna be the first. I'm not sure. I mean, I've seen your channel for a bit, so my second is Gail Weathers.
No one's gonna save this time. Your story's over. Time to pass the torch. It's all yours, bitch.
You want to do the honors?
This one's yours.
Stop. I'm sorry about Dewey.
Fuck you.
Gail is the one who's had the most character development in the Scream franchise, and I stand by that. She is great. To see her transformation from the first one, and then even how she is in the fourth one, and then even how she is in the fifth one.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's great. But like, even when she becomes like more empathetic throughout the films, she's still badass. Like, you know, she doesn't lose that edge to her. So yeah, she's an icon.
Yeah, so yeah, you kind of called it. She's my number one. It's for the exact reason you said. Like, she just has such a great arc where, you know, she goes from really cold-hearted, unfeeling, you know, exploiting tragedy for her own personal gain to, you know, by Scream 5, she's like, no way in hell am I writing a book about this. Like, you know, this is gonna die with them and we're done with this. And I honestly, like, Dewey's death in Scream 5 didn't make me cry. I think it's because I knew it was gonna happen. Like, I just knew. But it was when I did start crying is when Gail had her reaction to it, like when she showed up to the hospital and just like broke down and like in slow motion. That's when I started crying. And like, it's been crazy to see her go from, like, you know, that young, money hungry, manipulative reporter manipulating Dewey and like calling him handsome, whatever, to get what she wanted out of him, to, you know, them having this really endearing moment of like, you just weren't meant for New York, but you're still my best friend, kind of a thing. It just, yeah. God, I love Gail. I think, and she's one of my favorite final girls of all time. I think she cracks like my top 5 or something.
See, I really, that's one of the moments I really liked in Scream 5 was her and Dewey's conversation and how realistic it felt. Like, it wasn't like an affair or like, you know, anything like that, but they kind of realized that, you know, it just wasn't working out. And then, you know, and like, I remember being like, oh my God. I also knew Dewey was gonna die. I saw the trailer, I was like, Dewey's definitely gonna die.
Yeah.
But even before that, I'm like, if they had to kill one of the 3, it's gonna be Dewey. It's gonna be Dewey.
Obviously, right? Like,
so the same thing, I was kind of like, when he died, but then when Gail starts pulling up, I was like, nope, fuck you.
yeah.
I can't do this right now. But yes, my number one, it's basic, but I have good reasons for it. Sidney Prescott.
You're gonna pay for the life you stole from me, Sid. For the mother, and for the family, and for the stardom, and goddamn it, everything you had that should have been mine!
God, why don't you stop your whining and get on with it? I've heard this shit before.
Stop!
You know why you kill people, Roman, do you?
Don't want to hear it!
Because you choose to. There is no one else to blame.
Fucking damn it!
Why don't you take some fucking responsibility?
Fuck you!
Fuck you!
So for me, Sidney means a lot for me because unfortunately I've been put in the position several times where I've trusted someone and they stabbed me in the back, which Sidney knows way too much about. And there are a lot of times where, like, you know, it's just bad things kept happening, bad thing after bad thing after bad thing. And, you know, to me, Sidney was a role model because she kept fighting and persevering no matter all the issues, you know, that were presented in front of her. And it just resonated with me. And something I would say, like, saying I started to like develop myself is just like, I'll survive, I always do. And then she said it in Scream 5 and it was very cathartic for me. And I was like, oh, full circle here for me. So that's the reason why it's like, obviously she's a badass and, you know, she's like, you know, a final girl and she's smart and stuff like that. But that's just like personally, like, I just relate a little too much to her. So that's why she's number one for me.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. She's definitely a great role model for like resilience. I mean, she's amazing. Like, I love Sidney, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
Yeah. So, this is a fun one. Our top 5 Ghostface lines. So I'll kick this one off.
right.
I will say the majority of mine are for the very first one. Like, Ghostface was like a lot for the first one, but I have an honorable mention. My honorable mention is from Scream 5. Maybe so, but you forgot the first rule of surviving a stab movie. Never answer the wait. When that happened.
I didn't even think of that one.
When that happened, I was dying laughing. So he's like, I'm bored.
Yeah. Oh, God, that was such a good one. I forgot about that one.
That was funny. So my 5th one is the classic. Hello, Sydney.
Mm-hmm. Gotta have it. Yep.
Yeah. What about you?
Oh, my number 5. So I realized 3 of them are actually from Scream 4. I didn't do that on purpose. But my number 5 is, I hear you like horror movies, Kirby, but do you like them as much as him? Forget watching Stab. Instead, you get to live it.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah. Just
Okay,
iconic.
my number 4 from the first Scream.
Mhm.
No, you listen to me, you little bitch. You hang up on me again, I'll gut you like a fish. When he said that, I was like, oh, okay.
Yep.
I was
Yep.
like, damn.
To be honest, I don't think I have any of the like super brutal ones from Ghostface. The ones that I prefer are the ones that are like a little bit more clever when he's being a little more witty or like toying with the victim kind of.
Yeah.
So my number 4, it's actually from season 1 of the TV show.
Ooh, okay.
I don't know if that was allowed, but
No, go for it.
I couldn't I love this line. What you really should be asking is, did you just lock me in or out?
Oh, I remember that. I was like, oh.
Oh, like what do you mean? Oh, yeah.
That gave the same vibe as this line didn't make it into my list, but when he's like, I just want to know who I'm looking at, and you're like,
yeah, yep.
what?
Yeah.
Excuse me.
That one too.
My number 3 is, I want to see what your insides look like. That always sends a chill down my spine. I'm like, oh,
yeah, that's a good
I'll take
one.
a picture next time I'm at the doctor's, okay?
Yeah.
Like, I'll send it to you.
Yeah. Okay, so my number 3, also from Scream 4. This isn't a comedy, it's a horror movie. People live, people die, and you better start running. I think that's from the opening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Such a great.
Yes, great.
So my number 2 is from Scream 4. I'm gonna slit your eyelids in half so you don't blink when I stab you in the face. I remember when I heard that, I was like, damn.
Yeah.
Okay, you need to calm down.
So you went for like the more brutal lines for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so my number 2 is just hello, Sydney. It's just, I don't know, it just gives me chills every time because like some shit's about to go down every time you hear those 2 freaking words. It's just hello, Sydney.
Forbidden words.
Forbidden words.
My number 1 is the classic, what's your favorite scary movie?
Of course. Yeah. Okay. My number 1 is also from Scream 4. This is just one of my favorite moments of the whole franchise, like one of my favorite kill scenes. I never said I was in your closet. And it's
yeah, oh my god, that scene is so great,
so good. And then he pops
like she's like slowly
closet.
coming to the closet about to open it. It's like,
yeah, I like out of all the movies, that's like definitely top 3 moments that had me just gagged, like just
that is one thing I want to see more in Scream 6 that was kind of lacking in Scream 5 is like that kind of building the tension before a kill. Like I want that moment of like going up to the closet and just being like, is he in here or something like that? Blah, blah, blah. Like twist, psych bitch. Bah.
For sure. For sure.
Ooh, now the list that might be divisive. Top 5 killers.
Right, okay.
Okay, I'll kick it off. Roman Bridger.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, I didn't want listen, I don't like Charlie. I didn't have enough time with Mickey. I mean, I didn't with Roman either, but and then Richie is like, okay, you're just listen, dude, you're dating a high schooler. That's no. Also, like it's confirmed that she killed the majority of people in Scream 5, so it's like, okay, like you were incompetent as well.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, no. So Roman made it onto the list. I like the fact that he's a director. I think that's cool. Like that he's actually like involved with the movies, and then like he just should have been handled better. But yeah, I mean, there's no other explanation. He's just like, right, that's why he's there.
Yeah, it's very meta. I would say Scream 3 is obviously the most meta of the whole franchise for sure. I thought about maybe putting him on my list kind of for similar reasoning, but yeah, it's like you said, I didn't feel like I really got enough time with him. But my number 5 ended up actually being Debbie Loomis.
Debbie.
Yeah, I think it's just a really fun tie-in to the past. I think her performance was great. I love that she was masquerading as this like wannabe writer or reporter or something, following Dale around, and then she's another one of those characters that just flips her switch. So yeah, I like the performance. I think it's a fun reveal that it's Billy's mom. It's just kind of nutty.
Timothy's like when he says like Billy's mother,
Yeah.
it's so funny.
Yeah.
My fourth one is Amber Freeman. Listen, I'm a suspend my disbelief with the whole height thing and her being like really small, but she did kill. Like I will say in Scream 5 you can tell who killed who, because Amber is the most aggressive one. She's the one with the multiple stab wounds and stuff like that, and that's why she's like up here, because I'm like, girl, you crazy, you vicious. Okay, I respect that.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I unfortunately, yeah, neither of the Scream 5 killers made my list, just spoiler alert. But for me it was just a little bit tainted because I did not like their motive. To me it was just a little bit
Yeah.
like way too similar to Scream 4. So that's why I just found it to be a little bit weak. But my number 4 is actually Mickey from Scream 2. I know that we didn't get as much time with him, but I love that actor so much. That's Timothy Olyphant, right?
Yeah.
But I think he's just so great, and his motive too I just found really fascinating, because he actually was blaming the movies, right?
Mhm.
And I just think like his performance as a killer is also really, really good. I didn't see him coming, but I think it's just because we didn't really get much time with him on screen before the reveal. But I also didn't see it coming. I think he's like another good two-faced character for sure.
His little dance at the cafeteria is like, ooh.
Yeah.
My number 3 is Debbie Loomis.
Okay, hell yeah.
Debbie, yeah. It's like, it's really funny how once once the reveal happens, like everyone just turns on a switch and they're like batshit crazy.
Yep.
But yeah, Debbie, she's a mother.
Oh, please. She has a family. She's a mother.
She's a mother.
She's
So it's like, I like the parallels of like, Pamela Voorhees, and it's interesting that Pamela in the first Friday the 13th was the killer, and then Jason comes, but it's the opposite here. Billy was the killer first, and then
Yeah, that's
Debbie came. So I like that. I thought it was very plausible way to like continue into a next movie. I'm like, I believe it. Like, Billy got the crazy from something.
Yeah.
It was her mother.
Yeah. Okay, so all right, so my number 3 would actually be Billy Loomis.
Ooh, okay.
I thought that he would be higher up. I don't know. I mean, number 3 is pretty good, but yeah, it's just I think it's just the fact that like he was creepy for the entire movie, and he hardly really ever lost that kind of cool edge to him. And you'll see by my top 2 choices that I kind of prefer when they wild out a bit.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think that's the main reason, though of course I love Billy. Certainly one of the more evil and vicious of all the killers, I would say. Just because his motives they just seemed so simple,
Mhm.
and he was not at all justified in what he was doing. He just had such a strong desire for vengeance, and the fact that like he was also he was also dating Sydney too. It's just like, I don't know, it's twisted. He's twisted for sure.
For my number 2 is Jill Roberts.
What? Okay. Yeah.
Shocker right there. Jill Roberts. So Jill, again, we've already talked in depth about Jill, but again, she's so evil. Like, even Billy's motive was like, vengeance, because he's like, oh, you made my mama go away. Okay, mama's boy. But like at least he had that. Like Jill was like, I'm gonna just cut through everyone to get rich and famous.
Yeah.
So like mad respect, and like again, she came so close to getting away. So that's why she comes in second place. She was a good ghost face. Wish she would have survived. Like it would have been interesting to see her in the franchise.
Yeah, definitely. I've actually made predictions that I would kind of want her to come back. Yeah. So we're on number 2 now? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my number 2 is Jill Roberts. Yeah. I was really torn. I wanted to put her at number 1, but I have somebody that's even more special to me for sure. But we've kind of talked a lot about Jill already, and so I feel like I've kind of already listed my reasons why she's so high up. But I will say, like, the whole self-mutilation thing was definitely taking it to just like a whole other level. Like all
dedication.
Yeah, the dedication for sure.
Okay, so for my number 1, I cheated. I'm sorry. For my number 1, I put both Billy and Stu, because I feel like they come very, like, they play off of each other very well, and it's kind of like a package deal.
Definitely.
I feel like the ending, the climax with like everything would be different if you took one of them away. Like, it's just like, that's why I put them both there. I'm like, y'all are cute together,
Yeah.
Y'all secretly gay. It's fine. It's like,
oh yeah, of course.
so you guys are gonna go in a pair. Like, I cheated. I'm sorry.
Yeah. That's fair though. That is fair. And also my number 1 is Stu. So
Shaggy.
yeah. The reason why he made it above Jill is because when I thought about it, I was like, okay, like the only real logical reason why he would be doing this is because he's in love with Billy. Like, that's just the only reason, because why else would he want to be killing people? Like, there's also the dedication of, like, he had to get stabbed pretty deep in the stomach, and then he lost it. Like, he is the character that I think went the furthest off the deep end and, like, flipped his switch. I mean, like, granted, he wasn't hiding it too well for a lot of the movie, but, like, I always thought he was just really cute with Tatum and whatever. He's just like one of those weird white boys that talks about, like, gutting animals or whatever. But yeah, he just really flips. And, like, Matthew Lillard too, I'm just such a sucker for, like, anything that he does, and so maybe that's also partially why. I don't know, but yeah, Stu is just,
homeboy,
in my opinion, yeah, he's probably the craziest of them all, and I think that's why he's my favorite.
Yeah, homeboy drooling out here like, it's gonna be a Scream, baby.
Yeah.
Like him in the video story, he's like, you think I have a chance to? And he's like,
Yeah.
No, I don't think. It's like, he's so funny. But yeah, Stu, Matthew Lillard. I will say, radio silence, if you're by weird chance looking at this, we need to have Linda Cardellini and Freddie Prinze Jr. in the Scream franchise. I need that in my life. Like,
yeah, I've said this for Scream 7. I really do hope they do that. I really do. I got my wishes came true. They cast Samara Weaving in Scream 6, which I'm so happy about.
Yes.
But I'm like, Scream 7, okay, bring back our early 2000s, royalty. Okay, bring back Linda Cardellini and Freddie Prinze Jr.
We gotta get the gang back together,
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so now I have some fun Scream questions for you.
Okay.
First one, I have to ask, what's your favorite scary movie?
My favorite scary movie, I always say it's a tie because it's between The Ring from 2002 and Ready or Not from 2019. So go figure why I'm like, so happy it's the same guys doing the new Scream movies and casting Samara Weaving and everything. But they're just so different. Like, one's a dark comedy and then the other is like a psychological ghost story kind of. So they're tied for me. Yeah. But what about yours? I don't know your favorite Scream movie. So
for me, I call it my unholy trinity. I have 3 that are like up here and they're like my unholy. One of them, obviously, Scream.
Yeah.
The original. And second is Wreck.
Oh, that's a great movie. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then the third one is The Descent.
Oh yeah, another good one. Yeah.
All of them like different, different variety right there. But they all have, their like, I love them. They're the movies that scare non-horror viewers like the most. So whenever I have a friend come over and they're like, I want to watch something scary, and they're like very vanilla with horror, I'm like, here, let me pop this movie in. Like,
boy, do I have something for you.
Yeah, like, don't look it up. Like, just sit down. Especially with The Descent, I always tell them like, oh, it's a survival story, because it feels like that for the first like half. Yeah, it's like it feels like that for the first half. I'm like, oh, they're surviving. It's like, oh, wait, what?
Just,
Wait a
yeah,
minute.
yeah,
And then they turn like 11, like, you lie.
yeah. Yeah.
Second question. If you had to act in any of the Scream movies, what role do you think would be fun to try on?
Oh God, I would love to play a killer. I would love that. I think yeah, I would be best suited as one of the killers or one of the horror nerds. So obviously I'd be like the Kirby or Mindy kind of character, or I would be the Amber or Stu character probably. Yeah. I think it's just so fun to like do weird stuff. That's why I love creature acting, you know? So I think I'd have a lot of fun playing a villain, honestly. What about you?
For me, yeah, I feel like I love villain monologues. So, it'd be like, what's my motivation? The director's like,
Yeah,
go
right.
batshit crazy.
Yeah.
Batshit crazy, that's your motivation.
Say less. Say
So yeah,
less.
so like, yeah, like as I should.
Mhm.
So yeah, I would like that. But I do like I want to get killed by Ghostface. Like I feel like it'd be such an
Mhm.
honor, like to have a death scene. But I want it to be like an extended, like not like a quick and done, like a neck stab or something. Like I just, you know,
Yeah, like a chase, like a long
yeah,
phone call with a chase. Yeah.
yeah. Like either like I would accept what happens to Olivia, like with the closet, because that was
Mm,
badass and stuff, and that was brutal. Like he was just throwing her around.
yeah.
Or like a scene in Scream 2 with like Gail, like when she's running in the like studio and stuff like that. That scene's so good.
So
We
good.
need more chase scenes in Scream 6. That's all all I'm
Yep.
saying. We're lacking that.
Yep.
But yeah, something like that. Either like be a killer or be someone who gets killed in a very cool way.
Hmm.
If you had to revive any of the dead characters in Scream, who would it be? You can only choose one.
Okay, so for a long time, I definitely would have answered Stu. Um, I I'm not gonna be that person that says Randy. I'm sorry. Honestly would honestly rather see Jill come back because that bitch is crazy. Like, what would she do? You know what I mean? Like, she would come back with a vengeance like no other. Like that she would have an insane plan. Like she just would do some like crazy nihilistic shit. And I would like to see Jill come back.
I feel like that would be my answer too. Because again, like listen, I love Randy and I love Tyler Posey. Tyler Posey.
Well, he was in the
No, yeah, no, I didn't
TV
mean that.
show.
I meant Jennifer.
Oh,
Jennifer.
Jennifer Jolie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was like,
Fucking
oh,
Josie.
that's not right. That's not right.
Yeah.
I love them, but like the weight that Jill would have on the franchise would be big. Like that's like I live
Mhm.
for the drama. Like, am I
Oh
the
yeah.
drama? Am I the drama? Like I really
Yeah.
need that to happen.
Sign me up. Yep.
Okay, what's a new weapon you think would be cool for Ghostface to use?
Oh, sheesh. Yeah, I mean, it's always the knife or it's guns, you know? Jeez, what would be something fun? I don't know. I think it would be really fun to see Ghostface do something a little bit more elaborate. We got to see a lot of that actually in the TV show where there's almost these saw-like kind of traps. And
Mhm.
because like usually whoever Ghostface ends up being is usually like really smart and kind of has like a master plan. So I think it'd be really fun to see like not necessarily a trap. Well, yeah, I guess a trap for like lack of a better term. I don't know. Of just like Ghostface luring somebody in somewhere and I don't know, like a big warehouse where they have just like a bunch of stuff set up, like just some cool crazy chase sequence of events, you know, that ultimately like lead up to a kill would be really cool. I guess that's not really a weapon, but that's what I would like to see for a death scene, I guess.
I think it would raise the stakes if Ghostface had throwing knives. Like that would be crazy.
Ooh.
Like you imagine being chased like, whoosh, right in the shoulder. Like
Yeah,
that would
that'd
be.
be
I want to see that in a Scream movie.
oh, that'd be funny too. That'd be really funny, I
You
think.
just see Ghostface like what?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. I did a Ghostface like fan series, and that's something I use because I'm like, oh, I want to see that on screen. I want to see like an
Mhm.
actual Scream movie use that. That'd be so cool.
That'd be fun.
Um, okay, last question.
Mhm.
What's something you want to see in Scream 6?
Something that I want to see in Scream 6. Oh, geez. Um, I had so many predictions for Scream 6 of what I think is gonna happen, but like story-wise, there's nothing that I'm like dying to see. I'm trying to just go in like without expectations so I can just like enjoy the ride. And I don't necessarily want to see this, but I think it could be really well done, so I wouldn't be too mad about it. But I think that Samara Weaving might be the opening kill, just because she's kind of like the Drew Barrymore, you know, of the original, where it's like, oh, you think she's going to be the star, and we have Samara Weaving, who she's like this indie dark comedy scream queen. Like she's currently one of the bigger scream queens of our generation, and so I feel like they're kind of like, you know, pulling the same kind of Casey Becker situation, but I wouldn't be mad about it. I think they could do it in a really good way. I think it'd also be really fun if, you know, on the phone call with Ghostface, she gets to have a bunch of commentary about dark comedies, because that's what Scream movies are. And they've never really done that kind of commentary, like specifically. So I think that's something that I would want to see for sure, is like, you know, integrating Samara Weaving with them talking about dark comedies and, you know, going meta that way, and maybe her being the opening kill. So yeah, what about you?
For me, I just, you know, one of the issues they had with Scream 5 was that it felt too safe. And
Mm-hmm.
we're like 5 movies in. I'm like, we need to break the formula. I just want something to change. Like, I don't want it to feel safe. I want it to like take risks, you know, maybe even the killer gets away with it, you know, something like that. I want, like, let's switch it up here.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's something I want. Like, I want risks.
Yeah, I think, and like you said, I mean, if the killer got away, that'd be a really good setup for Scream 7 too. Like,
Because
I'd be down with
it
that
hasn't been
for sure.
done, you know, it hasn't been
Yeah.
done. So, you know, shake it up a little. Shake it
Yeah,
up.
for sure. I'd be down with that.
Kylie, thank you so much for being here with, I was gonna say with us, with me,
Yeah.
the talking Scream. Tell the people, what do you have going on? What do you expect from your channel?
Yeah, for sure. So coming up, the next director I'm going to cover is Wes Craven, and then I'm also planning on covering, yeah, of course, like M. Night Shyamalan, Mike Flanagan, etc. I'm going to get into all the big horror directors for that series. I have a couple other really big original verse remakes that I'm going to do. So like this October, I'm going to be doing Halloween 2 versus Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. That's one I haven't done yet. And then I'm probably going to do Halloween Ends versus Halloween H2O. So those are some pretty big ones that are coming up. And I still haven't done my Nightmare on Elm Street comparison or my It comparison. Those are all coming. So yeah, excited for all of that for sure.
Thank you so much. Tell us, what are your top lists for the Scream, you know, the Scream franchise? What's your rankings? Who's your favorite character? All that. Please be polite about it. Like, we're all here.
Yeah.
Peace and love. Peace and love. All your opinions are valid. Except if you like Halloween 2 from Rob Zombie, you're not that person.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you so much for joining me, and check out Kylie. All her stuff is linked down below. Till next time. Bye.
Bye. Thank you for having me.
Hey Angels, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Frights with Franny. If you liked it, please consider liking, subscribing, as well as hitting the notification bell for you to stay up to date on any future episodes. Also, I started a Patreon. For those of you who follow me, you guys know I'm a filmmaker, and I'm going to start pumping out more content here on YouTube. So if you want to support me on a greater scale, please consider checking that out. Link down below. Again, thank you so much, and until next time.